We've all dreamed about being a professional skier and living out our wildest fantasies, but is it actually possible for you? Or is it simply just too late? Just for context, I started my park skiing career at the old age of 17, and almost 9 years later at the ripe age of 25, I've made it. Or somewhat. Let me explain, guys. Nowadays, you can't get on Instagram without scrolling and seeing a 12-year-old doing the absolute impossible. And most of us can't help ourselves but stop and think, can I get there? Is it possible? Well, I got the answers for you guys. So in this video, I'm gonna break down a typical park skiing progression timeline from pretty much beginner all the way to professional, more or less where I am at today. We're gonna do this based on my own personal progression over the last 9-10 years, and also off of the progression of hundreds of athletes I've coached either in person or online at Slope Academy. And just to add more authority to the context, I have a sister who's in X Games that I taught, and a little brother who's on the come up as well. And me personally, I compete in World Cups for freestyle skiing, and I'm on Team Canada. All right, let's dive into this, guys. We're gonna break this park skiing progression timeline down into 3 steps: beginner, advanced, and expert. And we're gonna kick it off at beginner. So the beginner stage of your park skiing progression is gonna be year 1 all the way to year 3. I'm expecting you guys are starting with no park experience at all, but you're competent skiers. We're not starting off year 1 with no skiing experience whatsoever. You're a good skier, but you haven't tried anything in the park yet. All right, so for your very first year in the park, I personally was able to make this happen, and I've seen a lot of other skiers who I've coached as well that are able to blast past these as well, mainly depending on how much time you're actually skiing. If you're spending a lot of time on snow, you're gonna beat it, no problem. But in year 1, the progression you're looking for is being able to do boxes really well, the easy rails in the park, like wide tubes, maybe landing forwards or maybe landing switch. Both are really good. Doing your first 360s, first 540s, and the smaller jumps. You're not trying to add any grabs or anything. You're just trying to get them around, stomp them, all that good stuff. If you're competent and feeling up for it, you can try some switch 360s and some switch skiing, maybe some switch 180s as well. And we're starting to work into front twos and think about flips. This is your first year. Flips are possible in your very first year park skiing if you have a really good trampoline background, or you have air awareness built up from something else, maybe like cliff jumping or whatever else you guys might get up to in your off time. I'm not gonna judge you. But if you have really good air awareness coming into your first year and you're getting comfortable in jumps, you're totally able to do flips. I've seen tons of athletes in their first year that are able to do like double or triple backflips on trampoline just because they have really good like maybe parkour skills they've built up over the past. And now that they're able to hit jumps on skis, that just translates over no problem. So year number 2 as a beginner park skier, we are well past grinding beginner rails, and we're starting to look at cannons and other features in the park. We're hitting the majority of all the rails. We're doing not only 270s out, we're starting to work into back fours and front fours near the end of our season. That's a really good goal for your second season, is front fours and back fours. And starting the process of doing switch ups, maybe the easier swap 2 outs like K-feds, or back swap front 2s, Britneys. These are really good tricks to dial in on your second year park skiing because you're not really having to work with pretzels yet. That does come later, and that is a little bit more challenging, but totally possible within your second year of doing park skiing, doing front swap front 2s and back swap back 2s as well. Jump wise for our second year park skiing, we are working on 720s. We have unnat 360s, maybe unnat 540. We're starting to add safety grabs, maybe our Japan grabs or mute grabs or easier ski grabs. We're building up our switch skiing. Last year we did some switch 360s, which are pretty mellow. You can do them on the small jumps. Now we're working up to switch 540s. We're dialing in switch 540s, maybe some switch and nat 540s. And the big one we're focusing on this season is off-axis flips. You may have done your first front flip year 1, maybe your first back flip year 1. We're dialing in back flips, front flips at the beginning of year 2, and coming into the end of the second season, we're looking at landing our first off-axis tricks, whether it's an underflip 5, a flat 3, maybe a misty 5, maybe a cork 7, whatever you're comfortable with. If you're able to get your first off-axis trick by the end of the season, you're killing it. All right, if you guys have watched this far in the video, I hope you're enjoying this type of content. I want to make a lot of content that helps you guys in your park skiing career on this channel. However, doesn't always do the best for views. In the past, I've ran a coaching community called Slope Academy. I've now transferred all of the videos, tutorials, everything like that, park skiing progression checklist, stretch routines, workout routines, and stuff like that for freestyle skiers onto the YouTube channel, and we're doing a YouTube membership channel. So if you guys want to support the channel, you want access to some really good content that's going to help improve your skiing, and also some exclusive vlogs, videos, stuff like that, check out the membership channel down below. And I appreciate all the support you guys give me on the channel. It means a ton. It allows me to personally chase my dreams as a freestyle skier and make sure I spend the time to help you guys out as well. Thanks. All right, year 3 as a beginner park skier. This is the year where we start to transition from beginner to advanced, so we want to put the work in, and we're going to be upping our rail game right off the bat, doing sixes out. If you can do a front six and a back six by year 3, you're on track. That's a really good goal to have. Maybe you're working on unnat back fours, unnat front fours, really good as well. We want to make sure our unnatural tricks are keeping up with our natural tricks. We're able to do 270s on to rails, whether it's an easy rail, a down rail, whatever. Maybe we're not doing a 270 onto the quad kink in our local park, but we're doing 270s onto a lot of the mellow or easier rails, maybe both ways, and getting into switch 270s on. We're able to hit rails switch this year, and we're starting to work on switch 2s on to maybe easier tubes, other things like that. Maybe switch 2 on, back 2 outs, all of that good stuff. And jump wise, year 3, here's the big one. We're gonna try to dial in the majority of our singles in our natural direction. So our good direction of spinning, we're gonna be working on cork 7s, maybe misty 5s, maybe rodeo 5s, flat 5s, and upright 900s with grab. If you can do all these on jumps, you're doing really well for your third year park skiing, and it's time to start working on some unnatural spins as well. Switch unnatural 540s, upright unnatural 720s with grabs, making them clean. All really good places to start for your third year. All right, lads, at this point we have transitioned from beginner to advanced, and we're going into our 3rd/4th year of park skiing. This section of your park skiing progression is an amazing one. You're going from average/decent park skier to working up into higher competitions and pushing and challenging yourself. 4th year in your park skiing progression, we're gonna look at the majority of singles in our natural direction like we did in year 3, but adding grabs, adding that extra 180, maybe taking the misty 5 to misty 7, the cork 7 to cork 9, making them clean, starting to add a little bit of flavor and style, and adding a few off-axis tricks in our unnatural direction. This one's gonna be huge. At this point, we wanna start to bring our unnatural direction almost equal to our natural direction spins, flips, rails, etc. One of my favorite things for year 4 is having all the athletes able to do at least both way switch 7s with a nice grab like mute, just because it really works on their switch takeoffs and just allows them to have that power and the snap they're gonna need for bigger switch tricks that are gonna come down the line. Whether you guys take this piece of advice and do it, that's up to you, but I highly recommend that. Rail wise, we're super comfortable doing 270s on. We're working our 4s on, maybe unnat 4s onto easy boxes, maybe 4 on back 2s on a little bit harder rails, nothing too crazy. And we're getting into swaps. We can do all 8, which is all 8 swap 270s out. And then we are working on super feds, Ellens, maybe our 2 on, continuing 2 outs as well. Maybe our 2 on front swaps, things like this. Really good area to start. Switch 2 back 2, switch 2 front 2s on easier rails. Year 4, you should have this dialed. Year 5, we're looking at having all directions singles with good grabs up to 9, both directions, left, right, switch, forwards, all 4 directions, pretty much dialed, like left cork 9 blunt, right cork 9 mute, maybe a switch misty 9, maybe a switch left cork 9, safety, adding some grabs, but the majority of our singles in all 4 directions up to 9 with a good grab, year 5, is a really good goal. And at this year, you're starting to look at doing not just the smaller local provincial contests like timber tours, we're looking up to compete at more of a national level, like a junior national level, where it's all of Canada, maybe all of the States, maybe all of wherever the heck you're from, but you're looking at competing in these kind of slope style, big air, half pipe events. And unnatural rail wise, we're looking at building up the unnatural side this year. Unnatural switch 2s on, gonna be huge. Unnatural 270 on, switch ups are gonna be huge. Unnat maybe 2 on front 4, because we are getting into the area in our career where we're competing. And when we compete, we gotta spin all 4 ways. So keep that in mind. Make sure those unnat rail tricks are dialed. The exciting part about this area of skiing is you start getting into the level where social media, sponsorships, and all this stuff gets involved. So year 5, we're reaching out to sponsors, maybe trying to get our first free products, first gear, and we're really starting to push our maybe personal tricks, our personal abilities, our personality, what we enjoy, what we love out in social media to attract the audience to do whatever the heck you want with, like what I'm doing here on YouTube, or also to get sponsors and move your career forward and stuff like that. All right, it's now year 6 as a park skier. This is your last year as an advanced skier. You're starting to push the boundaries. Maybe in year 5, you even wrenched a double. We didn't cover that, but you could have wrenched like a double backflip or something. No problem. Year 6, we want solid doubles. At least 1 or 2, whether it's a double flat spin, whether it's a dub 10, whether it's a switch dub 9. At 6 years into your ski career, you should have at least 1 to 3 doubles pretty dialed in on snow by the end of the season. I know it's going to be a little tricky, but if you guys are putting in the working trampoline in the off season, you're doing all the other stuff, maybe you're getting on an airbag every once in a while, it's gonna be totally possible. Rail-wise, it starts to get a little bit complicated because you're very talented on rails at this point, but we're looking at doing things like 2 pretz 4s in maybe 2 to 3 different directions, having them really dialed, and also starting to play around with things that are more on the creative side of rail skiing, like 50-50s, maybe you're doing backslide, 2 outs, stuff like that. In year 6, you're really just rounding out your rail game, making sure every trick you can do naturally, you can do unnaturally just as well. Switch-wise, if you can do a switch to unmute and you send me a video of it, I'll give you a heart. Love that trick, and this is a great trick for year 6. To wrap things up, competition social media wise, now you're gaining a little bit of a following, you're starting to get some more sponsors and stuff like that. Maybe the majority of your ski gear is covered by your local ski shop. You have some people maybe giving you a little bit of cash to help out with your contest season, etc. Contest wise, we are still on the kind of national contest level where we're competing all of Canada. Maybe you start doing your first contest where it's like more international, where it's like a continental contest where it's US and Canada, or it's a European contest or something like that, wherever you are. But great spot to be in your 6th year. All right, the 3rd stage is expert. This is your 6th to 9th year. The last 3 years to get to where I have been now. And this one is a grind. At this point, you are putting in work and trampoline in the summer. You're on snow 4 days a week, and you're training. You're not just showing up doing random tricks in the hill, you're training. This 7th year in skis, we want all-way doubles. We learned a couple doubles last year, 2 to 3. Now we want to double in all 4 directions. This is going to be pushing it for some of you guys. Some of you guys, it's going to be very doable. Some of you guys, is going to be pushing it. But at this point, for us to be in a good position, it's almost necessary to have a double in all 4 directions, whether it's a left up 10 or right up 10, a switched up 9 in both directions. That would be amazing. You can switch up the different axes, all that good stuff. I'm just throwing out ideas. We want 1 in each direction. And outside of doubles, we're starting to play around with things like single 10s, like switch cork 10s, switch misty 10s, maybe a single cork 10. Who the heck knows? Whatever you guys feel like. Some of you guys are freaky. Maybe you're gonna do like rodeo 10s. I have no idea. That's up to you. Rail-wise, at this point, you're just unstoppable. You can do the majority of all the rail tricks. You're starting to take those harder rail tricks, like maybe 2 on front swap front 4s, to the more challenging rails in the park. Maybe you're doing like 4 pretz 2s on an easier rail in the park. Maybe doing some switch 4s on. You're starting to really push yourself in the rail game. And at this point, you're beyond the national competition scene, and you're competing continentally or internationally, whether it's the NORAM circuit, the Europa Cup, whatever you want to call it. But you're starting your path to build up to World Cups and a national team, and you're headed on strong. All right, year 8 into park skiing. This one, we're taking all the doubles in all 4 directions, and we're adding 180s. You can do a dub 12 on your forward left, time to do a 14. You can do a switched up 9, switched up 10 on your switch left, time to do a 12. At this point in your ski career, it would be super handy to have at least 3 direction 12s and have 1 14. I know for some of you guys at the beginner level that are looking at this timeline, might not know exactly what all these tricks I'm talking about are, but as you go through this timeline, personally, you progress your park skiing, you get more passionate about it, you watch events, it'll start to click, you'll start to understand what I'm talking about. But at this point, you have a really good understanding of all the tricks. It's not necessarily about learning what to do, but more about figuring out how to fix bad habits and execute on these tricks properly and 100% correct. And for rails, we're starting to do really fun things like 3 swaps. You might have already been doing them, but doing 3 swap pretz 2s, all 4 ways on. And hopefully, if you've been putting in the work over the last 3 years in social media, you're crushing it by now. Maybe you have an audience of like 20,000. You're getting sponsors who are helping pay for some of your season and also giving you free gear that you don't have to pay for, which is huge. Trust me, when you go through a lot of pairs of skis a year, it's huge. And you're at the point where you're probably podiuming at these bigger competitions like the Europa Cups and the NORAMs now, and you have your eyes set on that next level. All right, year 9 in your park skiing career. This is where things all start to open up and the world is your oyster. At this point, whether you have it on snow or not, you're working on all-way triples, at least 2 direction triples. Maybe with the new era of skiing, you're working on 18s, switch 18s, forward 18s over triples. Totally up to you and your coach and what you decide is best for your competition career. At this point, rail-wise, you can literally do pretty much anything you can put your mind to, especially if you're willing to eat it a couple times, trying tricks. But we're talking about flips out, like misties, rodeos, 3 swap, pretz 4s, stuff like that. The crazy rail stuff that you never thought was possible as a kid, or you see in crazy Instagram edits or YouTube edits, maybe Jesper Tejada's unrealistic. You're getting to that level. You're 9 years in, you're really putting in the work. And as one of my old coaches said, it takes 10 years of getting coached and training to be truly elite in a sport. So at this point, you're well on your way to being a master of the sport. We have our dub 14s dialed, we have our switch 14s dialed, we have our unnap 14s almost almost dialed or dialed. Sponsorships are rolling in. Hopefully you're crushing social media because it's super important in today's day and age. And you got a massive following, 40, 50,000 plus would be huge. And it would change your guys' life. So don't forget to put in the work on that stuff. And at this point, you're transitioning onto national teams. And whether you are competing in World Cups yet or not, and whether you started competing in World Cups, you did your first year, or you're just getting on the team and you're gonna compete in World Cups coming up in the next season, that's the perfect timeline for you. 9 years of hard work and a whole lot of fun and a lot of time on the ski hill, and the world is your oyster, like I said. At this point, you can pretty much do whatever you want. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it helps you figure out how far you are along in your skiing career. Do you want to do the outro? You have to say like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.